All right, guys, we're about to embark on the incredible adventure of putting a heater in a Turbo R 2022 Ultimate Ride Command. Now, I've done quite a bit of stuff to it already, but so the heater mounts where the glove box is going to be, or where the glove box used to be, I should say. I read through the directions briefly, but I'll kind of pop in here and there and show you what I'm doing. So you basically pull the console, the actual bin, out of the glove box, and it mounts up underneath. Probably a decent spot. Kind of like having the glove box there, but there's quite a bit of different spots that I can, like between the seats and stuff, where I can mount some other storage. Plus, I have the two storage boxes in the back. So I don't think it's a huge deal to pull that glove box out. And you still have the one in the center, and you got the center console. So we're going to get to working on this, and I'm sure there's probably not a ton of people with Turbo Rs. They're going to put heaters in them, but I think there's probably enough people. It's basically going to be the same as the Pro XP. And actually probably the same as the Pro R, very similar. Obviously the motor is different, but as far as the cab and all that portion of it would be the same. So let's get into it. Here's the kit, SSHK 132. Trying to show you everything that comes in it. Here's two of the vents. Heater tube. Just gotta drag it out here. Heater hose. Pretty good pile of it. The heater itself. 4 outlets. Inlet, outlet for the coolant. The bracket's already attached. Like I said, it just kind of mounts up underneath the dash. Wiring's got a single plug connection. Pretty simple. Switch, relay. Actually, I shouldn't say switch and relay. That's like your wiring harness. Bus bar plug. Switch plug. Then where it connects to the heater. Got your Y connector. Got your special valve. Not a regular valve. A lot of people have been through this. The valve is not just for shutting it off. It's more like a bypass. We got our switch. High, low, and off. And then we got hose clamps. 90-degree hardware. And of course, 5 horsepower worth of stickers. So let's start ripping here. All right, everybody. So here's what I got done so far. I had to take my windshield off, my light bar, bolts through my roof, which bolts through the windshield frame. So I had to pull that off. What I did is pulled the dash off. What it tells you to do is take front and both side fenders completely off, and it has you run the hose or hoses like this. Now it's upside down. Like this, where it basically pops out in front of the door through the frame and back through, which is like in here behind the fenders. But looking at that, I'm like, well, why would you want it to come out there when the heater core is on that side, comes all the way across, it's going to come out where it's much colder, and then run in, and it goes, they want the vents right here on each side. So what I did is I went ahead and put the vents right here. So basically it's going to blow right on you there and right on you there. You got a lot shorter run, so you're getting a lot more heat in the cab, and you're not losing any heat by going outside the fender wells. Everything's going to stay inside the cab. So what it is, basically, take the dash off, you take off all this trim, and all it is this some little snap tabs or spring clips, whatever you want to call them. You pop that trim pieces off, and there's 40 millimeters right here, or 40 torques, I should say, not 40 millimeters, 40 torques. And then you got to take your hood off and pull these. These are 2 push pins. This is 240 torques. Take those off. I did some other stuff too. I mean, It's probably a horse a piece, really. But when I had the whole dash off, what I did is I cleaned a bunch of wiring for my pod lights, for my light bar, for my aux beam 8-gang switch. Just because when the dash is off, you can see everything, or you can tidy it up real nice. Again, not really necessary, but that's what I did. So you do lose this cubby. It's probably one of the nicest ones on this machine, actually, which kind of sucks, but it's nice that this is up nice and high. So if you do go through a bunch of water, you're not worried about hitting your speaker. Hitting your speakers basically is going to happen long before you get your heater. So that's where that goes. Pretty straightforward, that part of it. Like I said, I think that it just makes more sense to have them here straight across from where you're sitting. You can kind of tip these so it warms your legs, warms your face, warms your feet, well, almost to your feet. And then you can always close them up if you need a little more ventilation on the windshield, which is what these two do. So that's where I'm at kind of now. I'm going to put the dash back together, mostly back together. And then I got to run my actual hoses. So that right there, grommet, is for the heater hose. The other one's going to come out here. And then I'll start tying those all in. So we'll get working on this next part. Not bad so far. Okay, so there's the finished product from the top side. So the yellow handle is pointed down and it's pointed toward the cab, which is on, towards the line that's ran to the heater core, to the heater itself. Here's the line. So you'll zip tie it up. It runs kind of like down the skid and out front. Okay, so here's the tight spot. I don't know if you can see down in there or not. There's my one pair of vice grips. There's the other pair of vice grips. So you got a straight shot right there. Right here. Driver's side, return line. To put this T in. T should be pointing towards the radiator when it's installed. There'll be plenty of swearing putting the valve and the T in. It's tight. It's not fun. I put a rag down, catch as much of it as I can. Should be a ton with being clamped off, but whatever this amount of hose will hold is pretty much for sure going to spill out, or a good amount of it. So we're going to cut it, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. Well, that escalated quickly. Started putting in a heater. Now I got the roof off. Seats out, back panels out. I feel like every time I start one of these projects, it turns into another project. So I have all the RPM blow-off stuff, charge tubes, big fatty intake pipe. Figured why I got some of it apart. May as well do that. Got to add some coolant for the heater. But everything is done heater-wise, other than adding coolant and burping it and stuff. But now that I got this far apart, I'm going to do the rest of it and kind of tie it all up together. So so far, yeah, it blows warm air, but it does need coolant, and it's got to be bled out a little bit. They say just to run it, and it'll bleed itself. So we're going to try it and see how it works. So far, no leaks. So should be good. I'll give you a little rundown once I got it back together. All right, guys, got the Inferno all installed. Took it for a ride around the block, up and down the road a couple times. Pushing out about 117, 118 degree air. We're up 883 degrees temperature-wise. Everything's all buttoned up, no coolant leaks. If anyone's not sure, underneath your speaker here, unless you don't have speakers, is where the top of the radiator recovery tank is. So that's where you're going to want to fill. together. You can see the T back there coming from the driver's side, which is the return side. That's something that I had issues with. It says use the lower radiator hose. Well, there is no real lower radiator hose on either side. So the return is on your driver's side, the upper. Or they're both basically uppers, but driver's side, large hose, is the return where your T needs to go. And over here, we got it somewhat back together, but we got some stuff to do yet. Got your T-valve right there. You see the yellow is down. It's in the on position, facing the cab. Then you got your heater box mounted up in the glove box position. Then again, I did my vents here and here. And obviously you got your defrosters. It didn't make as much sense for me to go in here and then go in and outside the body and back. It's just not going to be as hot then. Plus, I'd rather have them here than blowing this way. Then they're blowing right on the seat, on the person that's in the seat. So I'll let you know how it works, but up and down the road, feels pretty good. I got a set of cheap upper doors coming, and the block offs for underneath the here, just the plastic ones. So it'll help keep some of the wind and the heat in, or wind out, heat in. And the block offs for here. And as you can see right inside the cab there. See where all the mud's going, the water and whatever else. So I'm gonna put those on. The outer fenders, or the fender flares, covered this hole here. And obviously the extended fenders in the front and back keep a lot of mud off you. But I want to seal the cab up just a little bit more, and I'm gonna do some sort of rubber mat or some sort of insulation on the back of the cab, so in the summer it's not as hot, which I have not noticed any heat issues. Some of the other pros that I've ridden, the little bit older ones, I don't know that there's any real difference, but this one just seems to be a lot cooler. I don't know, maybe somebody can tell me, but I'm not sure what the skinny is, to be honest. I don't feel the heat on the back of it, and I don't feel the heat in the center console. So I don't know if they changed something around. There's a lot more steel line in that center console. Maybe that's part of it. Maybe that's more efficient. I'm not sure. Obviously steel is more efficient, but I'm not sure if that's a change from the other Pro XPs or not. So, job is done. We have heat in the Turbo R.